This is the second video of the trade log. I had a previous video in which I took a position in Netflix, that's NFLX, and I bought 135 shares and I wanted to run a trade log. The trade log is exactly the way I set things up, and I wanted to show you how it looked, and so I thought I'd take a position on it. I'm gonna flip over. I entered this position, maybe a little bit difficult to see here, but I'm going to make the line a little bigger here on both the red and the green so that you can see my exit points and my entrance point. When I entered the trade, I was watching the trade, and it was down at 102 something, and in 3 seconds it jumped $1.10 or 15 cents, and so I entered it at that point. Otherwise I would have had a much better entry point. But in any case, I want you to see what this looks like on that day. The red line shows my exit point, and I'll expand this a little bit. If you look at the candles, you have two things that are going on. The high of the red candle day did not reach the high of the previous green candle. So that told me that I was probably not going to get any higher. The candle, or the price, was coming down. It then turned red. And so then what have I got? I've got basically a gap up red island. And so my thought was, as it was getting closer to the previous close of this green candle, next to the left, on the left side of the red candle, there's the open right there. And I was going to talk about how the market might go up today, but as a result it is going down. But keep in mind it does have a short top, so maybe it's going to stay down red today. I'm not sure, but I'll comment now on a little bit on layout of the indicators. In the Power Zion, you had basically a rising triple bottom. So there was a possibility that this candle was going to end up going up the next day. But as it turns out, it appears that I made the right call on this one. This is only a couple of minutes after the open, but obviously, and it could just turn around and go right back sky high today, but we just don't know. We'll see what happens to the day, but I'm going to flip over here to the trade log because I wanted to talk about this and what I did in this transaction while I was in the heat of the battle, as they say, or in the decision-making process. I'm going to start over here. Line 119, number 9, the one that's enclosed in the two black lines. We had a long weekend here, so it's actually 5 days difference, but only the 3 trading days. And the comment that I make is it's a gap up green candle, no change. So I just made that notation as the only notation on that day because I really wasn't going to make any decisions as to exiting it, because I had a really nice gap up, and even if it did turn red a little bit, I was going to watch it on the 3rd day. Now, going down to the day on which I sold it, which here is January 20th, 2016, Netflix, I sold Netflix at 108.25 and I bought it at 103.70. So it went up about $4.50. I was hoping for something much stronger than that, but we can only deal with the indicator lines and just react to what they tell us. And so this is what the notations that I have marked on the daily chart, key buy sell signals. I marked down here that it was a gap up red candle island, and that is probably the number one thing why I decided to exit. And then the other line under it says I decided to exit because it was getting too close to the previous close. And so I didn't realize how what was going to happen, obviously, but it gives you got to make a decision in a split moment, and for me it's better to grab a little bit of profit and continue than to lose it and go way down. And definitely, if you're negative on the day, my basic rule is if you're negative $100, you exit the trade. I didn't mark anything down underneath the trade log line, underneath the weekly chart. I marked down two lines here, and I forgot to mark them down on day one, but the monthly and the weekly did not look too good. The monthly was way down, and the weekly was also down. You didn't know if it was going to bounce back, but the daily indicator said it was going to be a nice trade. It only lasted for into the third day, but you definitely did not want to hold it long term. I should have had these two lines up here on day one because those were the ideas that I had off the weekly chart. I just forgot to mark them. There were no targets. My plan was to hold it for 3 to 5 days because it appeared to be a strong uptrend. In this category here, I sold it on the third day, just to mark it down. One of the reasons I sold it was I just said I had a gap up red island. There was more to it than that. The signals were really dropping fast. The indicator lines, when something starts heading downhill, the indicator lines really drop, and they're much lower then than they were probably now. It's kind of strange how they lock into position based on where they originally started out, because if they gap up, they hardly ever, some of them don't change that direction until it really gets significantly in the opposite direction. But in any case, going on into this general comments, reasons for the sale, the price was getting too close to the previous close, decided to exit the trade. I learned to always watch the market for the first 30 minutes after the open, and that is just an obvious comment. Anybody would do that. I ended up with a profit of $614 for the 3-day trade. Nothing, disheartening about that. It was a good profit day, 3 days, but it wasn't anything like I could expect. You can imagine if I had, if I bought 1,350 shares versus 135 shares, there would have been a big difference, because this 614 would have had another 0 on the end of it. So I think this is a good example of how a trade log looks. Everybody has their own particular way of setting them up. This is the way I set mine up, and you can put in the columns that you want. You definitely want to use an Excel spreadsheet. without using an Excel spreadsheet, you're fighting a losing battle. You'd be, looking on different pieces of paper and that whole thing. The other thing you want to do is in your trade log, you want to categorize things. After you do, after you do, a handful of trades or a little more, you're going to find that your log, you picked certain setups. They might have been pink greens, or they might have been red green tops, or red spikes, or whatever you picked, or whatever you identified with and you were making money on. So what you may want to do is enter your you want to create categories for all the red spikes that you traded during the year, and categorize why and how you bought stuff. It's just organize it how you would like to see it, but the main thing is keep track of as much as you possibly can. Just write down more information, because that'll tell you how you were mentally thinking at the time, and that's the important thing, because you need to know mentally where you were in those moments before you decided to pull the trigger, or at the point where you decided that you were not going to pull the trigger. Where you were going to pull the trigger to exit. I'll show you one last thing here before I exit this video. It looks like the red candle is just continuing to go down here on January 20th. It's that 104.50, 40. It's now down to 120, 104.20. It's bouncing around close to that green line that I originally entered a couple of days ago. So it looks like it was a good move to exit. Looks like it was a good move to do the transaction when I did it. I'm not sure if you can see it here. It's down under 103 or 104 now. Now it's back up. It was down to 103.90 something. It's at 104.33 at the moment. So the decisions that you make on how you're trading, I mean, I can't emphasize the importance of a trade log. People look at it and they say, well, it just tracks your information. It doesn't. It does much more than that. It tracks your attitude. If you'll enter information in a trade log like you should, it will give you a mental picture of where you were when you pulled the trigger. So keep a trade log. I consider it to be mandatory. I also will probably do another one of these just as an example. Not sure yet, but eventually I'll have there's a number of other things that I want to do before that, but trade logs are fantastic. Enjoy your time trading, but definitely keep track of what you're doing.